All right, welcome everyone to our panel. We're here to discuss AI and finance services here in Vietnam. As we know, in June, the EU has paved the way for an AI Act that they passed, the first one, and other countries are going to follow suit. They're also now talking about should they put more restrictions on for the financial services. So as we talk about that and why, which is because the cost of potential failures is so high in financial services. So let's go to our panel discussion to discuss about financial services here in Vietnam. So we're going to start with our first question to Ryan. What are the most significant ways that AI is currently transforming the financial services here in Vietnam?
Thank you for the question. So I think that I can only speak for really what I know that what Funding Societies is doing, and maybe a bit more broadly. I think probably Zhang can also jump in on this. They laid it out actually quite nicely in the panel before us, that I think that there are a couple of use cases that are usually being used for FIs inside of Vietnam or for non-banking financial institutions like FS. One is going to be data collection for underwriting, specifically KYC, being able to price credit and things like that. The other major one that at least that we've been using at FS is actually as a level 1 response to online inbound inquiries for customer service, to be able to use kind of large language models to be able to resolve questions more quickly.
All right, thank you. And you already did talk about some of the benefits there with that, but what are other benefits that we would have in the financial services?
Well, I think that in financial services, we have to look at it from two different perspectives. I think that it's a good pain point solver for as margins have been compressed over the past couple of years because of what's going on with the U.S. Fed. It gives the ability to be able to have some cost reductions, I think, in terms of headcount. But I think also from a branding perspective, there are some advantages for using large language models for customer service in terms of consistency of quality and the ability for large financial institutions like maybe a VP bank to be able to go back and see what actually was said to a customer. So it puts us in a much more defensible position in terms of customer service.
Perfect, thank you. And while we're talking about customer experience, Hao, I'd like to hear from you. Can you share some experiences or use cases that you have seen for AI in financial services?
Okay, thank you, Rebecca, for your question. You know that as Ryan, okay, Ryan already mentioned about the enhancing of customer experience by AI. Banking and finance is some of the most innovative field, and of course, AI helps us very much in enhancing the customer experience. First of all, it's about the mobile app. If we use our own opinion to build our app, it's not. It may be not suitable for everyone. And thanks to AI, we collect all of the data and all of the activities the customer do with our mobile app. And after that, we analyze that. We analyze these data and figure out whether the customer is satisfied with our app or not, and which screen or which button should be enhancing. So this is one of the apply. And furthermore, for example, in the past, the customer have to go to the counter, go to the branch to do all of the banking transaction. But till now, they can do anything via the mobile app from far away. And this is the help from it's the help of technology, including AI. Because, for example, for the eKYC, the customer in the past, they have to go to the counter. And till now, thanks to the technology, for example, the OCR or the smart camera, we can recognize the customer and we can read all of the information from the customer in the ID card, so that the customer do not have to go to the counter to do which they have to do in the past. Yes, just some simple example for the enhancing in the customer experience. Yes, and many things else.
So thank you for that. Now we know that a lot of AI projects, they do fail, but we learn so much more from our failures than our successes. So have you seen any applications where AI has failed in your experience?
Okay, talking about AI is talking about the model, the data and the model. Yes, and of course, the model may be right or wrong. So when the model is wrong, everything is failed. Yeah. So in my experience, I see some cases that the model was wrong. For example, when I work at a commercial bank, we built the pre-approved lending products, and because at that time the data is not too much till now, in comparison to now, and because of the model is not precise enough, so the result is wrong, and the bank have to trade off their profit because the bad debt increase very high. Yes, it's one of the failure that we learn. And after that, we have to tune the model. And till now, it's good. It's good. It's still working till now. Yes.
Very good. But you learned a lot through that process.
Yes.
And that's what's important. All right. Thank you. So we'll talk a little bit about the risks. So for you, Yang, what potential risks should financial institutions be aware of with implementing AI?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say thank you for the organizing team for having me here. Secondly, for those who have not known who we are, actually we are PwC, one of the big four firms in the world. And probably you don't know that PwC is the first reseller of OpenAI in the world at this moment. So it means that whenever you want to invest or utilize the enterprise version of OpenAI or ChatGPT, you should go directly to us so that we can support you further. So this is the first thing. So just back to the question, how about the risks when applying AI, especially in the finance services sector? I think using AI requires constant and swift change as well as adaptation. So to truly get the most benefits from AI, we should be aware of different types of risks as well. For example, we can consider the privacy risks, which we just discussed in the previous section, cyber risks, regulatory compliance, legal obligations, as well as intellectual property. Because when we are exchanging idea or initiative via different type of AI-based application, we somehow expose ourselves, including sharing the idea or our intellectual property to the outside world. So this is part of the risks that we should take into account. Yeah.
Okay, and how can we mitigate those risks?
Well, this is a long story. In order to manage different type of risks, probably I think, need a kind of holistic approach in which we will consider at least three aspects, from people to technology and governance. Because if we don't have people, the right people to manage the risks, then we're gonna face with the key risks here, the people. Right? The second one, if we don't invest in right technologies, for example, applying different type of defense system to timely detect and prevent this different type of risks over here, gonna face issue as well. And lastly, in terms of governance, we should build up a kind of relevant policies and process so that we can control timely and in a kind of actively manner. So in a kind of summary, we need a holistic approach, and we will tackle different type of aspects over there.
Thank you. Can we dig a little deeper into the data privacy? And what are the key warnings that you want to give out for the data privacy, but also how can we protect ourselves and how can financial institutions protect our information?
Yeah, so right now, I think we as a consulting firm, we observe many data privacy concern around different type of FS clients. Of course, in order to utilize and apply AI-based applications effectively, definitely we need to collect data, process data, as well as analyze data in order to support decision-making processes, as well as optimize our system performance. However, in order to deal with the privacy, we think there are a couple of things that you need to consider. First of all, we should take privacy by design upfront. It means whenever you want to design an application based upon AI technologies, you should think of privacy at the beginning of the design. It means that you need to manage the whole data lifecycle management. You need to consider different type of compliance risk, especially in Vietnam nowadays. You know that there is the PDPD, right? Decree 13, Personal Data Protection Decree, published by the Ministry of Public Security. And privacy by design will help you to take into account when designing a system. For example, you need to design some functionalities in which you allow the customer to enable or disable their consent when using their personal data. For example, in mobile application, you should have some function like that, enable or disable. The customer can do that on their own. This is the first thing. For example, another thing is when they surfing your internet banking application or digital banking application, you normally see on the web browser there's a pop-up message, right? Whether you ask the client to get their consent when using their cookies information. So those things that consider at the beginning of designing any application. Privacy by design is the first thing. The second thing is data management, especially in financial services sector. We have a lot of data to manage, right? From the quality management to the metadata management to the data security, everything you need to manage it effectively. The next thing is about the risks and compliance when dealing with personal data. As I shared earlier, not only in Vietnam, nowadays in the world, we are aware of the GDPR in Europe or CCPA in America. There are many legal constraints whenever you want to utilize the customer information to serve the services to the clients. And the fourth and the last one, ongoing assurance. It means that you need to audit to assess regularly whether your AI-based application are in line with the law, the local regulation, as well as all the privacy control are still in place. So there are a few key things over here that you need to consider when addressing the privacy issue. Yep.
Thank you. Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit more about the impact of this new law?
So I was just thinking, we were talking before we came on stage, and I was thinking just personal experience, yeah, not necessarily on behalf of funding societies or FIs in general in Vietnam. I get so many calls, unsolicited phone calls from securities companies, not VP. VP doesn't do stuff like that. From banks, from insurance companies trying to sell me stuff. Hey guys, I didn't give you my number. Like, at least from my reading of the new PDPE, like, you're in trouble. Like, it's a direct violation of what's going on, unless they can trace back that somewhere, somehow, I authorized them, my number being given to them wherever they bought it or wherever they obtained it from. So I think there are two different things on this. For anyone who's using AI to do kind of scraping off of public sources data, Vietnam is a bit different than other jurisdictions that have kind of like fair use or common use doctrines, where in the US and in the EU, kind of the courts are going in a different direction where they say, hey, if you put your information in public and then it gets scraped, okay, fair shot, right? Like, you put your information in public, it's kind of your fault. Vietnam's taking a more conservative approach. I think it's actually the right approach because it's better for individuals. But I think we're going to see the potential for the kind of Ministry of Public Security having some investigations, because these are very, very common practices amongst FIs, at least from my personal experience. So I think we'll probably see a lot of change, I think, both in how data is ingested, but also just very common business practices. We may see kind of cold calling in Vietnam just kind of go by the wayside. Either that or we'll start to see a lot more investigations.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you for your input. Okay. So, Thao.
Yes, can I ask?
How can, do you want to answer that question too? Go ahead.
I want to add some comments with Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang, I answer. Because he mentioned that there is something that the financial institution have to comply with, right? It's about the law by the government. From my point of view, I think that most of the banks and other financial institutions, such as security companies like us, are following this law already. For example, in our app, you can download it, VP Bank Neo Invest. When the customer log in to the app, they have to agree. They can take some option, agree or disagree, to allow the company to use the data that their private data. Yes, that is first of all, because and I know that all of the banks and security companies already do that. Yeah, and about you, yes, about the course. As I know, in my knowledge, I know that most of the security companies do not have the policy to telephone, to make the telesale calls to the customer. So those calls are the phishing call. Yes, the fraud. That is one of the fraud that we have to facing with right now. And securities companies are also very, how would I say, very exhausted with this, because it makes the clients, the customer, have the very bad look about the security companies. Yeah, just so.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And the next question is for you.
For me?
Yes, how can financial institutions balance innovation with risk management?
Okay. For the risk management from our side, yes. First of all, we have to strengthen our staff. First, our IT staff. Yes, because we ourselves have to understand deeply about the technology and about the AI technology as well, so that we can protect ourselves from the hackers. Yes, and to protect our customer as well. Yes, and yeah, we have to understand and we have to know what is the right technology we should use. And I think that not every banks or security company understand that. And maybe we will need some consultancy yeah, from some big four like PwC or others who is very talented about this field to give us some advice about which technology we should use or which and how we can apply that to protect ourselves and to protect our customer. Yeah, and of course the last one is we have to comply with the law from the government. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So how should financial institutions, now this goes to legacy systems. So this is a lot of what my past companies have done. We take legacy systems and then we implement them into newer technology, into AI, and help them along. How can they do that well, Mr. Zhang?
Yeah, I think this is the common questions nowadays when we work with many enterprises in Vietnam. And normally the short answer is we're going to use API technologies, which will have the companies or enterprises to communicate between the new application based upon AI technology and the legacy ones. It means that in order to increase the interoperability, data exchange, as well as real-time data management, we should think of utilize API technology over here. It means that we should not touch directly into the legacy system, of course, because they cannot support emerging technologies like AI or machine learning or something like that. And by using by using API technologies, we can communicate easily with the application, with the legal, with the legacy application over here. However, the long answer is, in order to effectively utilize API technologies to integrate with the legacy system, we need invest more time in studying what capabilities the legacy system can support. So that's we will, develop our AI by application to adapt to the legacy ones.
I think this is right. And I think legacy system, I think there are two major components. This is something that hit us pretty hard. Number one, is your data in order? Like, everyone's like, AI right now. But in terms of like, is your data actually structured in such a way where you can leverage the capability in the first place? That's number one. The other legacy thing, which doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot, is that there are two different systems that are at play. One is the technology, one is the human system. And at least a lot of the pushback that I've seen in organizations that they've made this change has less to do with the capability of the technology. Engineers are smart. They figure out a way to make it work, like some duct tape and there you go. But are the owners of the legacy system aligning on this? Do they see the benefit? Have they bought in? Do they understand that this isn't going to end up in the elimination of their job? And if it does, like, have we gone on that journey yet? I think that's right on.
Right, and now that's going to lead us right into our next question. It's a question that I get a lot, but you can answer it. How is AI going to affect jobs for financial services?
I think I'll take a shot at this, and I'd love to be able to hear Tao's point on this. I think what it does is that it focuses the business, and I think in Vietnam there's a definite, I think it's a generational divide where maybe kind of the older millennials are kind of like Zennials and before. I think it's just kind of like, there's a problem, throw bodies at it, right? Like, we throw bodies at it until we fix it. I think now I start to see more managers looking at things more mindfully to see like, okay, maybe I can throw bodies at it initially, but then is there a way that I can automate this? And again, I think it goes back to those components of wanting to make sure that for the basic operations that I think that any organization that can deploy, just the kind of the quality and the consistency and the kind of the ability to be able to do data audit, I think is insurmountable when you talk about being able to apply AI. So long story short, I think what it does is that it can focus the headcount. It doesn't necessarily mean that jobs have to be eliminated, but it might mean that we take work that's better used for machines, we let the machine do the work, and where more creative thinking or more complex problems, we let that be handled by human hands. So I think that there's an opportunity. We can be scared that we're going to have to cut workforce, or we can see it as an opportunity to be able to skill up the existing workforce to do something that creates more value for the organization in the first place.
Yep, that's right. Thao, do you have a comment on that?
To the security company, we can use. I want to add some more example to apply. Yes, to apply AI to our business. For example, we have in my intention, we will have a robo advisor for the customer, for the investor. Yes, we can use AI to analyze their risk appetite, to understand how they want to invest their money to the stock. Yes, the stock, the bond, or the mutual fund. Yes, and basing on the risk appetite, our robo-advisor will give the customer a roadmap at what time they can invest how much money, and into which one. Yes, to reach their goal, their financial goal. Yes, and it's from our side in a security company. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think we have time for one last question to everybody, which is, where do we see future of AI in finance? What do we see on the horizon?
The consultancy.
Yes, it's the interesting questions. As the consulting firm like us, we observe that automation is one of the key purposes when enterprises are looking for to optimize their operational cost. Of course, we are not talking about labor cut or something like that, because the existing employees will be rearranged to do other stuff, something like that. But automation will be on the top of many management team when applying AI. And in risk management as well, people are nowadays thinking of utilizing AI to support doing analysis to actively detect and prevent different types of abnormal behaviors when doing business transactions across financial institutes. So those things, we believe that's one of the key trends in the next few years. Of course, we should take into account the bias issue as well when applying AI technologies in our daily operations. And in order to deal with that, the trend also will be thinking of doing AI in the terms of transparency. This is the way that we should invest. So that's the more transparency over here, the less bias later on will impact on our applying or adopting AI application in our FS sectors. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing up the bias issue. It's a big one.
I got a question for
Yes.
him.
Okay,
It's okay?
sure.
Yes. As you say that the automation, the automation is the first one, right? When we implement the RPA project in a bank, most of the operational staff are very worried because the RPA will replace them. Yes. So how can we convince them?
This is a long story, and we will need kind of awareness training topic. So that's we will help them to stay tuned, right? Stay calm. That's we rearrange the workforce area over here. We have another topic to talk about a workforce transformation or agile transformation over here to adapt to the new or emerging technology in the future, whereas the existing employees can do their work in a different manner. So this is a long story and complicated one. We'll talk about it later if possible. So I think it's your turn to talk something about the
I
question.
want to make sure. Are we okay or?
Still have 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure. We
Okay.
still have 2 more minutes.
I actually want to. I want to defer my time to actually give some time to talk about the expert on bias, because I think that's something that doesn't actually get addressed a lot. So let me actually put that point back to you, because I know this is something that you're quite passionate about, and I'd love to be able to hear a little bit more about this, about bias in systems and how it actually impacts.
Right. So the bias in systems, you have to look at who's creating the systems. And a lot of times you're talking about international and you're talking about men. And so there's a lot of bias in that doesn't work when you're trying to go into other markets. So you really need to have a diverse team, different ethnicities, male, female, balanced, so that you can come up with a solution that is good for everybody and is more, you can sell it to more people and it can be more applicable.
Besides kind of demographic bias, do you think that there's also the opportunity for like design bias, where it's almost like in consulting, where I think this is what the parameter or output should be, so let me hack a little bit so that way I land on where I think I should land? Do you see that as a problem?
I do, because you need to really think about your users and who's going to be benefiting from your project. It can't be about how you want them to feel, it's how they feel about using your product. So there's a lot of research you need to do and go in and talk to the people that are actually going to be using your product or who you're selling to and say, okay, what is it that you need? What can we fill a need here and how best to do it? And every industry is different.
So this will be the last question, I promise. Back to the two of you on this. So how do you have people, because there are lots of people that are managers, like the two of us, that don't necessarily have technical backgrounds. How do you design a process in such a way where non-technical people have the ability to be able to audit what the design maker is actually doing to avoid these types of problems?
So we are still talking about bias issue, right? From our experience, so basically we normally recommend different enterprises to deal with the bias thing is that for a system that learn through the customer interaction, periodic functional monitoring based upon a set of standardized rules, sets or something like that, which are audited by well-known third-party auditing or assurance company like us. Those systems are highly recommended to manage bias over here, to avoid the training drift, something like that. Because if we are using independent or third-party data, we are not trying to influence our data, then it's a kind of, but it should be based upon standardized protocol of functionalities. to audit whether those design are, in place based upon some, agree upon procedure or something like that. So we will, minimize the bias when designing AI applications.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole panel just on talking about bias and ethics in AI, but we'll have to do that another time. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you learned something new here.